In the beginning, the world was perfect. Now, it's not so perfect. We know that there was the fall of Satan, but what concerns us now is the fall of man. How did we become fallen? In a war, understanding our as well as the enemy's disposition, that is how and why we got here, can help us to renew our loyalties and inspire us with purpose. In the beginning, Satan told 3 lies, but he started with an insinuation of the restrictiveness of God, a gross misrepresentation of God's character. However, it was only a suggestion. Has God really said that you shall not eat of any of the trees of the garden? By stretching the requirement of God to something ridiculous, he created inroads to engage Eve in a discussion she was not expecting. This was the enemy's perfect intro. It's like someone going to a McDonald's employee and saying, "So, I hear you guys kill over 1 million people every year from heart disease." However, this statement isn't true. While heart disease actually is the #1 cause of death for Americans, there's actually no direct link between McDonald's and death. But now this dude is thinking about the relationship between death and McDonald's food. There's also no direct link between God and restrictiveness. Yet, the devil's statement, whether true or not, produces a thought never present before. It's called inception. Normally you wouldn't think about it. Now you can stop an incepted idea if you immediately trace the idea back to the source and recognize where it came from. But if you don't, it becomes your very own thought. Remember what the serpent said. Has God really said that you should not eat of any of the trees in the garden? If Eve gave that comment even a second thought, boom, inception. There's a possibility that God is restrictive. Consider it. But check this out. Eve had to engage in conversation with the enemy for him to plant that idea. And here's the killer. Interaction leads to influence, whether we recognize that there are lies there or not. You see, the serpent didn't start off with a full-bred lie right away. He planted a seed. So let's recap on what's happening here. There was this tree, right? This tree was called the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. If you think about it, even today, evil is never really a purebred evil. It's usually mixed up with something that's mostly good. So this girl walks up to the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, and she stands there, looking and listening. And the longer she stands there, the more she begins lusting over the knowledge of evil. She starts desiring a new experience, an experience outside of what God gave her, as though this experience could somehow offer some sort of fulfillment. Guys, this tree is not where the answers are at. Being fallen means we have a disposition to lust over the knowledge of evil. But the knowledge of evil can never fulfill the desires of our heart. God tells us through the prophet Jeremiah, "My people have committed 2 sins. They have forsaken me, the spring of living water, and they have dug their own cisterns, broken cisterns that cannot hold water." So let's make this practical. We need to choose to recognize that sin is something that starts in the mind as a thought or a feeling. But they're thoughts and feelings that originated with the father of lies. These thoughts and feelings develop into a desire for the knowledge of evil. The more we contemplate them, the stronger they become. We are already fallen, and it will seem as though our very minds will lie to us. We're told in Genesis 3 that Eve saw the tree was good for food, that it was pleasant to the eyes, and a tree desirable to make one wise. And then she took of its fruit and ate. She also gave to her husband with her, and he ate. But how many of those things were actually true? It may have been pleasant to the eyes, and it may have given her some nutrition, but did it make her any wiser to sin against God? You see, the devil caused Eve to fall through her appetite, and he does the same thing to us today. We see something that promises joy, and in our minds we think, dude, my lust is all over that. But after we get it, if we really think about it, did that thing make us a better person? Did it bring us any closer to God? Did it benefit us in any way that will have eternal consequences? Sin has not benefited this world one bit. Unfortunately, as the fallen, that's exactly where our hearts and our minds are set. But we can stand. We can stand by asking God to help us to recognize and to reject any thoughts that contradict His character. Don't reason with these thoughts. Just turn away from the tree. Set your eyes on Christ and keep them there. Simply trust His word, that what He says and what He has already given us is best. No improvements or modifications are necessary. May God Himself, the God of peace, sanctify you through and through, and may your whole spirit, soul, and body be kept blameless at the coming of our Lord Jesus Christ.